afternoon, guys. Let's see. Everything's up. Everything's running. We are good to maybe good to go. Are we? Yes. Yes, we're good to go. Okay. So welcome to day 20. One more day and we'll hit our 3-week mark. Fascinating. Not a lot of reading today. 3 more chapters of Exodus, 10 to 12. And then Psalms 20. Yeah. And so when we left off yesterday, we were in like the midst of the plague somewhere. Yes, Pharaoh was still like not letting the people go. We knew that. And of course, it's like highlighted that all of this is according to God's plan so that he can truly show the people how wonderful he is. He can truly show the people the power of the God that they are rebelling against. I think he does this for both sides of the coin, you know. He does this to show the Egyptians this is who you were choosing not to place your faith in. And he shows the Israelites, this is who you have placed your faith in. This is who your God is. Because of all of the evil that the Pharaoh has put on the Israel, all of the evil that has kind of festered in the Pharaoh's lands while enslaving the Israelites have called him into action. So now God's like, all right, you've risen me from my throne and you've risen me from my resting place. I'm going to rescue my people. I'm going to rescue my forces. I'm going to pull them up and out of this oppression. Their outcry has been heard. I'm going to act. So he's like, okay, Moses, he anoints Moses to go and do what he needs to do to tell Pharaoh to let his people go. Moses is a little uncertain about all of this, so he tells him, I'm ill-equipped. I can't do this because of that. I can't do this because of my speech impediment. I can't do this because, they won't believe me. I can't do this because yada, 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 fill in the blank, right? And God's like, okay, well, listen, I'll give you miracles to perform and they'll believe you. I'll give you words to say and you won't have to worry. I'm the person who formed your mouth. You don't got to worry about this petty little speech impediment, this tiny little speech impediment of yours. Because I am the God. I'm with you. And therefore, what's going to get in your way? Moses still ends up protesting. So then he gets Aaron. He's like, send Aaron. He speaks better than me. And Aaron's his brother. He said, all right, take him with you. He'll be your mouthpiece. He will do works through you. Everything he needs to do, you have to tell him to do. What I came to realize in the reading of those chapters, though, is eventually Moses starts doing it himself. Like in the beginning, he does tell Moses, Moses does tell Aaron, like, hey, lift your staff and slam it onto the river and turn it to blood. He does tell Aaron, like, oh, do it this way. Yo, this is what you need to say. But then soon enough, he starts, not soon enough because we don't know how much time passes, but eventually he starts to be the one who is lifting his staff. He starts to be the one who's speaking to Pharaoh. He starts to be the one who's enacting all of these things. So I guess he starts to work, because he's doing the work already, starts to lose his insecurities or lose focus on his insecurities. and while the work is being done. Yeah. So that was my takeaway. I wanted to, actually should have wrote that somewhere, but my takeaway was to start to understand that insecurities are only overwhelming when you're not actually in the midst of the work. Like, once you're just throwing yourself into the work that needs to be done, you don't have the time to think about the insecurities of it. Just have time to think about getting the work done. Yeah, and that brings us to today's reading. There was no devotional video attached to today's plan. I did throw in the link for Genesis Part 1. It's an overview link by the Bible Project, so you can go check that out. I also threw in a prayer because I really saw it today. And one of the things that it just really called out, just a reminder, like, there are so many strongholds that kind of keep you from doing your thing, and living your best life. For me, it's the doubt, it's the procrastination, it's the list is long, but I just wanted to look. Those are things within myself that have been highlighted that I will be working on personally. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it strikes a chord with you the way it struck a chord with me. And then we shall jump into today's reading. Exodus 10. We're at a plague of locusts. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Return to Pharaoh and make your demands again. I have made him and his officials stubborn so I can display my miraculous signs among them. I've also done it so you can tell your children and grandchildren about how I made a mockery of the Egyptians and about the signs I displayed among them. And so you will know that I am the Lord." There you go. Like, it just, God had objectives. He wanted to free his people. He wanted to display his authority over the Israelites and over the Egyptian. As their savior, and over the Egyptians in their land, to know that their Pharaoh is nothing. He's just a man, and he does not have the capabilities of oppressing a people by his own, desire, So he lifts up these people, and he hardens the heart of the other group, because you need to know that, the right here where he's like, I need them to know that I'm making, so that you can tell your grandchildren that I'm making a mockery of the Egyptians. I felt that so much, because there is no other way, no other reason why God gives Moses 3 miracles, maybe 4 miracles, right? Because the plague of blood was technically something that, so there's 4 of them. It's the staff, the hand, the blood, all of these things that every time they get performed, these wise men and these sorcerers come out the woodwork and they're like, "Oh, but I can do that too." and God's like, "All right, bet." And it's just it's like a little battle here. Oh, you think you got game, you think you got bars, but no. I'm gonna let you keep thinking until it gets to I think the plague of gnats, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do that. That's the finger of God right there." And then it gets to the plague of flies and boils, and it just keeps going, and then they start to realize the lack of their secret arts, the lack of the power of their magics, of their sorcery, of whatever is empowering them is lacking. You don't got the bars you thought you had. You don't got it. So yeah, I felt that. And it's good to have it. So yeah, I'm just making a mockery of them at this point because they think so highly of themselves. No, that's not the right color. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, "This is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. How long will you refuse to submit to me? Let my people go so they can worship me. If you refuse, watch out. For tomorrow I will bring a swarm of locusts on your country. They will cover the land so that you won't be able to see the ground. They will devour what little is left of your crops after the hailstorm, including all the trees growing in the fields. They will overrun your palaces and the homes of your officials and all the houses in Egypt. Never in the history of Egypt have your ancestors seen a plague like this one." And with that, Moses turned and left Pharaoh. Pharaoh's officials now came to Pharaoh and appealed to him. "How long will you let this man hold us hostage? Let the men go to worship the Lord, their God. Don't you realize that Egypt lies in ruins?" Yep. So this was my question the other day. Like, how long do you think it's going to take for his advisors to be like, "Yo, Pharaoh, stop it. Like, just let the people go." Like, how long? And so they were like, "Yo, can you just let the Israelites go already? Because you're destroying the country. Absolutely destroying the country." They've gone through the blood plague where all the water turned to blood and was undrinkable for about 7 days. They've gone through the plague of frogs where all of the frogs are croaking and invading homes and territories, and they are everywhere. Plague of gnats, plague of flies, same thing everywhere. Boils and festers. This is on their livestock. This is on the I think it was mainly on the livestock. No, livestock and the people. There was a plague that was specifically targeting the livestock, but the Israelites' livestock was fine. Then the hailstorm plague. Like, everyone who is outdoors during this time period is going to die in this hailstorm. And it was thunder and lightning and I assume fire hail? Like, I just want, like, what kind of hail? Yeah, so yeah, there's all of this action, and every time something came up and Moses was like, you better let them go. Pharaoh was like, "Fine, just pray to your Lord so that he can release me of these plagues." And repeatedly, it was, "Okay, you're released from these plagues. It's no longer an annoyance." And then he's like, "Okay, well, yeah, I can't go anymore." Like, so, of course, this was all according to what the Lord wanted and what was what the plan was, but not everybody knows that. Like, they're just going through this. They're experiencing the plagues along with Pharaoh. Pharaoh may know the chain of events that's happening. His officials may know the chain of events that are happening. But the people who are out in the faraway lands, nowhere near this palace, nowhere near this throne room, have no understanding of why all of this is coming down to them. It might be whispered throughout the lands of what's going on, like, oh, it's the God. There might be whispers of the true causes of what's happening, but yeah, eventually Pharaoh's people was going to have to turn on him. So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh. All right, he told them, go and worship the Lord your God. But who exactly will be going with you? Moses replied. But there was a point where Pharaoh was like, go worship your Lord, but do it here. Like, no, we can't do it there. We can't do it in your lands. You detest our Lord. So how could we give him sacrifice in front of Egyptian people who, hold our Lord in contempt? Moses replied, again, Moses here himself is doing the work. We will all go, young and old, our sons and daughters, and our flocks and herds. We must all join together in celebrating a festival of the Lord. Pharaoh retorted, the Lord will certainly need to be with you if I let you take your little ones. I can see through your evil plan. Never. Only the men may go and worship the Lord, since that is what you requested. No, that's not what he requested. He said, let my people go. And Pharaoh threw them out of the palace. So, again, Pharaoh thinks he has grounds. He's very prideful here. He thinks he has grounds to negotiate. Still. Then the Lord said to Moses, raise your hands over the land of Egypt to bring out the locusts. Let them cover the land and devour every plant that survived the hailstorm. So Moses raised his staff over Egypt, and the Lord caused an east wind to blow over the land all that day and through the night. When the morning arrived, the east wind had brought the locusts, and the locusts swarmed over the whole land of Egypt, settling in dense swarms from one end of the country to the other. It was the worst locust plague in Egyptian history, and there has never been another one like it. For the locusts covered the whole country and darkened the land. They devoured every plant in the fields and all the fruit on the trees that had survived the hailstorm. Not a single leaf was left on the trees and plants throughout the land of Egypt. Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron. I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you, he confessed. Forgive my sin just this once and plead with the Lord your God to take away this death from me. This always happens. He's like, forgive me of my sin again and again and again. So Moses left Pharaoh's court and pleaded with the Lord. The Lord responded by shifting the wind, and the strong west wind blew the locusts into the Red Sea. Not a single locust remained in all the land of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart again, so he refused to let the people go. He's just mocking them. To show how great he is. It's like, what are you doing? Who do you think you're fighting with? Who do you think you're up against? And why do you think you get to go away free now? You did nothing but show your ass time and time again. And why do you think you get to go away free now? A plague of darkness. And then the Lord said to Moses, lift your hand toward heaven, and the land of Egypt will be covered with a darkness so thick it can feel it. So Moses lifted his hand to the sky, and a deep darkness covered the entire land of Egypt for 3 days. During all that time, the people could not see each other, and no one moved. But there was light as usual where the people of Israel lived. Finally, Pharaoh called Moses. Go and worship the Lord, he said. Ooh, this is the first time it says go and worship the Lord, not go and worship your Lord. I think that's a smooth difference right there. He said, but leave your flocks and herds here. Why are you still negotiating? But leave your flocks and herds here. You may even take your little ones with you. No, Moses said. You must provide us with the animals, and you must provide us with animals for sacrifice and burnt offerings to the Lord our God. All our livestock must go with us too. Not a hoof can be left behind. We must choose our sacrifices for the Lord our God among these animals, and we won't know how we are to worship the Lord until we get there. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart once more, and he would not let them go. Get out of here, Pharaoh shouted at Moses. I'm warning you, never come back to see me again. The day you see my face, you will die. Very well, Moses replied. I will never see your face again. I think that small, verbal shift right there means a lot. In Exodus 10:24, it reads that go and worship the Lord. Now, y'all can track this on your own if y'all want, but this is the first time first time Pharaoh says to Moses, the Lord. As in, not just your Lord. He has no claim over me or the Egyptian people. I don't fully believe in, go ahead, he's your Lord. This is the first time he's like, the Lord, like the Lord. Okay, he's here, he's acting, he's present. I'll even format as a question just to make sure I double check that later. Is this okay? Alright, so this is the last and final part. I believe. In Exodus 11 is a death for Egypt's firstborn. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will strike Pharaoh and the land of Egypt with one more blow. After that, Pharaoh will let you leave this country. In fact, he will be so eager to get rid of you that he will force you all to leave. Tell all the Israelite men and women to ask their Egyptian neighbors for articles of silver and gold. Now the Lord had caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the people of Israel, and Moses was considered a very great man in the land of Egypt, respected by Pharaoh's officials and the Egyptian people alike. Moses had announced to Pharaoh, "This is what the Lord says. At midnight tonight, I will pass through the heart of Egypt. All the firstborn sons will die in every family in Egypt, from the oldest son of Pharaoh, who sits on his throne, to the oldest son of his lowest servant girl, who grinds the flour. Even the firstborn of all the livestock will die." I didn't know that hit livestock too. I'm not. Whoa, I didn't know that hit livestock too. So I was, okay. Then a loud wail will rise throughout the land of Egypt. A wail like no one has heard before, no one will ever hear again. But among the Israelites it will be so peaceful that not even a dog will bark. Then you will know that the Lord makes a distinction between the Egyptians and the Israelites. All the officials of Egypt will run to me and fall to the ground before me. "Please leave," they will beg. "Hurry and take all your followers with you. Only then will I go." Then, burning with anger, Moses left Pharaoh. Now the Lord had told Moses earlier, "Pharaoh will not listen to you, but then I will do even more mighty miracles in the land of Egypt." Moses and Aaron performed these miracles in Pharaoh's presence, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he wouldn't let the Israelites leave the country. This 9 and 10 are just a reminder of this scenario from the get-go. I'm gonna perform all these signs, miracles, and all that. He's gonna be stubborn about it because I'm gonna harden his heart, and he's not gonna want to let you go. We're just gonna go through the rhythm of this until he kicks you out of the country. He wants you to go so bad, he kicks you out. Like, mm-hmm. The first Passover. When the Israelites were still in the land of Egypt, the Lord gave the following instructions to Moses and Aaron. "From now on, this month will be the first month of the year for you. Announce to the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each family must choose a lamb or a young goat for a sacrifice, one animal for each household. If a family is too small to eat a whole animal, let them share with another family in the neighborhood. Divide the animal according to size of each family and how much they can eat. The animal you select must be a 1-year-old male, either a sheep or a goat with no defects. Take special care of this chosen animal until the evening of the 14th day of this first month. Then the whole assembly of the community of Israel must slaughter their lamb or goat at twilight. They are to take some of the blood and smear it on the sides and top of the door frames of the houses where they eat the animal. That same night they must roast the meat over a fire and eat it along with bitter salad grains and bread made without yeast. Do not eat any of the meat raw or boiled in water. The whole animal, including the head, legs, and internal organs, must be roasted over a fire. Do not leave any of it until the next morning. Burn whatever is not eaten before morning. These are your instructions for eating this meal, but fully dressed. These are your instructions for eating this meal. Be fully dressed, wear your sandals, and carry your walking stick in your hand. Eat the meal with urgency, for this is the Lord's Passover. On that night, I will pass through the lands of Egypt and strike down every firstborn son and firstborn male animal in the land of Egypt. I will execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt. For I am the Lord. No, that's when I tried Israel color. I need this. I need more colors. Some blues, dark blue. Okay. Oh gosh. See, I'm a strong believer, and this might be controversial, that there are other gods. You know, people have their gods. People have their other, like, deities, idols, whatever. I believe that they exist because our God is a jealous God. To be jealous, you have to find something. I mean, like, I feel like there has to be, like, an equivalent to enact jealousy. I may be wrong in this. I may, you know, eventually, if I'm wrong, I'll get the revelation. I'll get the chastising that I need to see this correctly. But I am of the belief currently that there are gods, others, but like, just my God. I want just my God. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not putting any other God before my God, because I don't think there is any other God before my God. Like, if I'm going through the hierarchy of gods, you know? But I think items become gods when people worship them. Like, money is technically a god because so many people worship money. There's God's money. I think people become or can feel God-like because there are so many people who worship them. You know, who would drink their bathwater. There are people like that. So they feel godly. Oh, Oh, right. So it says here, on that night I will pass through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn son and firstborn male animal in the land of Egypt. I will execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt, for I am the Lord. This is all caps, so it's for I am Yahweh. You know? So it's not like that these other gods of Egypt weren't being praised by the Egyptian. You know, they're being praised by the Egyptian people. They're doing their thing. I guess that falls into the theory of God and then like lesser gods. But, yeah. Yeah, let's even compare it just to see if it's in the King James Version. Like, do they write it like that? Male beast, firstborn, I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Yeah. So, that's my take. If you have a different take, let me know. Go ahead. Write it out. I would love to read it. I would love to know. But the blood on your doorpost will serve as a sign, marking the houses where you are staying. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. This plague of death will not touch you when I strike the land of Egypt. This is a day to remember. Each year, from generation to generation, you must celebrate it as a special festival of the Lord. This is a law for all time. For 7 days, the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, remove any trace of yeast from your homes. Anyone who eats bread made with yeast during the 7 days of the festival will be cut off from the community of Israel. On the first day of the festival, and again on the seventh day, all the people must observe an official day for holy assembly. No work of any kind may be done on these days except in the preparation of food. Celebrate this festival of unleavened bread, for it will remind you that I brought your forces out of the land of Egypt on this very day. This festival will be a permanent law for you. Celebrate this day from generation to generation. The bread you eat must be made without yeast from the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day of the month. During those 7 days, there must be no trace of yeast in your homes. Anyone who eats anything made with yeast during this week will be cut off from the community of Israel. These regulations apply to both the foreigners living among you and to the native-born Israelites. During those days, you must not eat anything made with yeast. Wherever you live, eat only bread made without yeast. Then Moses, I wonder if this fight against yeast is because yeast is a living thing. Then Moses called all the elders of Israel together and said to them, "Go, pick out a lamb or a young goat for each of your families and slaughter the Passover animal. Drain the blood into a basin, then take a bundle of hyssop branches, dip it into the blood, Brush the hyssop across the top and sides of the door frames of your houses, and no one may go out through the door until morning. For the Lord will pass through the land to strike down the Egyptians. But when he sees the blood on the top and sides of the door frame, the Lord will pass over your home. He will not permit his death angel to enter your house and strike you down. Remember, these instructions are a permanent law that you and your descendants must observe forever. When you enter the lands the Lord has promised to give you, you will continue to observe this ceremony. Then your children will ask, "What does the ceremony mean?" And you will reply, "It is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord, for he passed over the house of the Israelites in Egypt, and though he struck the Egyptians, he spared our families." When Moses had finished speaking, all the people bowed down to the ground and worshipped. It's a permanent law, so does that mean it's still in place? Like, I know there's a whole Old Testament, New Testament. Do we need to follow Old Testament, New Testament? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, that's gonna go into theology, isn't it? There's gonna be a theological debate about all of this. I myself have never never participated in the Passover. So what do you do? Like, my first time reading about the Passover, like I knew what Passover was, but really reading about it, this is the first. I don't really know what Passover was. I mean, I got the gist of it, but this is the first time I really read it in depth. And like, so then my question and all of this just becomes, this is it strikes here when it says, your descendants must observe forever. Remember, these instructions are a permanent law that you and your descendants must observe forever. God himself says that this is a permanent law. So I can't imagine anything that happened in the New Testament would erase the law of Passover. So that's a new question. New question for further study. Let me just section this off because I need to remember the instructions of Passover. I need to put that into a thing. Let's see, can we highlight this in like a color of red? Yes. Orange and red. Yeah. It's a permanent law for Israelites and foreigners alike, isn't it? But in all the years I've been in church, I've never heard anyone be like, let's celebrate Passover. Actually, that is not the one I should have noted the whole thing, but whatever, it's fine. Until morning. And these instructions are permanent law. Your children will ask, and this is what you'll tell them. So we're at Exodus 12:28. So the people of Israel did just as the Lord had commanded through Moses and Aaron. And that night, at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt. From the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn son of the prisoner in the dungeon. Even the firstborn of their livestock were killed. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the people of Egypt woke up during the night, and a loud wailing was heard throughout the land of Egypt. There was not a single house where someone had not died. Israelites' exodus from Egypt. So that loud wailing that was promised would be heard and never be heard again. It's the unified mourning of a nation. At the same time. That's Israelites' exodus from Egypt. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron during the night. Get out, he ordered. Leave my people and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds as you said and be gone. Go, but bless me as you leave. All the Egyptians urged the people of Israel to get out of the land as quickly as possible, for they thought, we will all die. The Israelites took their bread dough before yeast was added. They wrapped their kneading boards in their cloaks and carried them on their shoulders. See, it was like right after. That's why they needed to be dressed a certain way during this situation. Because it's like, all right, have your walking sticks and all that, because once this is done and discovered, you're gonna be forced to go. You're gonna be sent on your way. What are we doing? The Israelites took their bread dough and and carried them on their shoulders. And the people of Israel did as Moses had instructed. They asked the Egyptians for clothing and articles of silver and gold. The Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. That night, the people of Israel left Ramesses and started for Succoth. there were about 60,000 men, plus all the women and children. A rabble of non-Israelites went with them, along with great flocks and herds of livestock. For bread, they baked flat cakes from the dough without yeast they had brought from Egypt. It was made without yeast because the people were driven out of Egypt in such a hurry that they had no time to prepare the bread or other food. Or is it because bread holds up longer without yeast in it? The people, or is it because they were trying to follow the laws of Passover because, like, you have to eat bread without yeast for about 7 days? The people of Israel had lived in Egypt for 430 years. In fact, it was on the last day of the 430th year that all the Lord's forces left the land. On this night, the Lord kept his promise to bring his people out of the land of Egypt. So this night belongs to him, and it must be commemorated every year for all the Israelites, from generation to generation. Instructions for the Passover. So the day of Passover, the start of the day of Passover, is the start of the exodus of the Israelite people. No. Instructions for, if the calendar hasn't been like with instructions for the Passover. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "These are the instructions for the festival of Passover. No outsiders are allowed to eat the Passover meal, but any slave who has been purchased may eat it if he has been circumcised. Temporary residents and hired servants may not eat it. Each Passover lamb must be eaten in one house. Each Passover lamb must be eaten in one house. Do not carry any of its meat outside, and do not break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate this Passover festival. If there are foreigners living among you who want to celebrate the Lord's Passover, let all their males be circumcised. Only then may they celebrate the Passover with you like any native-born Israelite. But no uncircumcised male may eat of the Passover meal. These instructions apply to everyone, whether a native-born Israelite or a foreigner living among you." So all the people of Israel followed all the Lord's commands to Moses and Aaron. On that very day, the Lord brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt like an army. Okay. So in the next chapters, I guess that's where the story of the parting of the Red Sea and the swallowing of Pharaoh and his army all comes to unfold. Moving into Psalms. Psalms 20. For the choir director, a Psalm of David. In times of trouble, may the Lord answer your cry. May the name of the God of Jacob keep you safe from all harm. May he send you help from his sanctuary and strengthen you from Jerusalem. May he remember all your gifts and look favorably on your burnt offerings. May he grant your heart's desires and make all your plans succeed. May we shout for joy when we hear of our victory and raise a victory banner in the name of our God. May the Lord answer all your prayers. Now I know that the Lord rescued his anointed king. He will answer him from his holy heaven and rescue him by his great power. Some nations boast of their chariots and horses, but we boast in the name of the Lord our God. Those nations will fall down and collapse, but we will rise up and stand firm. Give victory to our God. Give victory to our King, our Lord. Answer our cry for help. All right, that's today's reading. Yeah. The people of Egypt had to go through a lot for them to finally let the Israelites go. But it's also, I feel like it's like to be enslaved for so long, I feel like they just received all of the burden and the hate and strife that they placed on the Israelite people, but all at once. They just got hit with all of that. I can't wait to see how long this played out in terms of years, or like, was it a couple months or whatever. I'm expecting that they will tell us Moses and Aaron's age after Exodus, because they told us going in how old they were when this started. And I just wanted to give it like, oh, okay, so these plagues went down over the course of blah, 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 much time. Or the freedom, the battle to free the Israelites took place over blah, blah, blah amount of time. But yeah, this arised some questions. These readings arose some questions about Passover. Like, am I supposed to participate? Like, hey, yeah, I want to look more into the plagues, because honestly, if I have one question, it's the hailstorm. Is hailstorm, smoke, and fire? Like, because I know I'm thinking hailstorm of ice and winds, but that's probably not the same hailstorm. So I'm gonna do some more insight onto the plagues and how that really, like, you know, I guess visually would look. Yeah, plagues, Passover. Anything else that I had to know? Yeah, I still need to figure out if that moment in the Bible that I noted where Pharaoh finally says to Moses, go praise the Lord instead of your Lord. Is that like a change of heart moment? Not a change of heart moment, but at least an acceptance that God's not just their God, but a God, you know, God of the lands. Yeah, we're doing really good. Doing really good, guys. We're on day 20. Tomorrow's day 21. There'll be 3 weeks. That's our 3-week mark. Like, yes, we're doing really good. And I'm just gonna keep hammering at this until it sharpens. Like, I know it's rough right now. I know you have no idea when I'm going live. There's just no rhythm to it. I will find a rhythm. I promise you, I'm gonna find a rhythm. But for all of you who have stuck around through all of the chaos of, hey, is she locked out? Thank you. Yeah, I'm telling you now that what I'm aiming for is an early in the morning stream at about 8 a.m. Yes, that's the most logical time for every day of my schedule. Early morning stream about 8 a.m. I'm blocking out possibly an hour and 30 minutes, because my longest stream is an hour and 30 minutes. Actually, yesterday was my longest stream, which was about an hour and 40, but that was on me. And my shortest stream is about 45 minutes. So I'm just gonna block out that window of time, 8 a.m. for about an hour and 30 minutes. Don't know what the readings will bring, what the readings will unfold, but yes. Also, if you have any insights about how you want me to go about the morning, the start of the stream, like, do you want the recap? I know the recap is useful to me sometimes because I don't remember what I did yesterday, and I can't remember what I did this morning. So, like, I need the recap sometimes, but I can just forego the recap and jump straight into it. That will definitely shorten the stream time that it takes. Yeah. Just keep me posted on what your ideal vibe situation is, and I will try to accommodate. But until then, until there's a rhythm, I will see you tomorrow. Bye.